Every year the Tour de France finishes on the Champs-Élysées, and frankly, thank goodness for that. These days it's one of the few things you can actually rely on when the race sets off, that 22 days later, in some shape, size and state of health, it'll arrive in Paris. Everything else is subject to change without notice. The 2008 edition had incident, accident, scandal, the odd headbutt and uncertainty about the outcome until the penultimate stage, which was a relief really, because back at the start in Brest, all everyone was talking about was what the Tour this year was missing.
First off, there was no defending champion. Alberto Contador's new team had been declared unwelcome because of past problems with drugs. For the first time in history, there was no official recognition from cycling's world governing body either. The row over how to fight doping had turned the Tour into a renegade race. The prologue was missing too. The organisers had decided to ditch 4 decades of tradition and replace the opening time trial with a road stage. And that was just the first of a string of innovations on the most experimental Tour route we've seen for years. Brittany played host to the opening 3 days. In fact, it was the Tour de France meets the shipping forecast as the race kicked off in Finistère. Stage 1 was Brest to Plumelec, 197 windy kilometres with a vicious kick up towards the finish that the locals, perhaps not having travelled much, called the Breton Alpe d'Huez.
The finish to stage 1, the climb at the end. Now I know you've got experience of it. They call it the Alpe d'Huez of Brittany, don't they? Can you describe it, what it's like to ride up?
Well, I think it's not like Alpe d'Huez, but it's very dangerous at the beginning of the climb. There is a big road, and in 50 meters you turn in a small road with only 2 riders can pass, so it will be very dangerous at 2 kilometers.
Negotiate that safely, and then it's onto the slopes of the Cadudal. 1.7 kilometres at an average gradient of 6.2%. Now, it probably won't be enough to break the peloton ride apart, but it might just produce a surprise winner.
If Valverde wants, he could win the stage, but I don't think he would like to have the yellow jersey for the first day.
And you've won there this year, so is it a stage for Tommy Voeckler, do you think?
Yeah, I won over there this year, but it wasn't the same riders at the start, and I think the speed, the rhythm of the last climb, the speed was not the same, so wait and see.
Hervé Duclos-Lassalle never got there. Every year somebody has to be the Tour's first casualty. This year it was him. And he was almost followed out of the race by the first big name. Last year's King of the Mountains, Mauricio Soler, went down heavily on his wrist and was already chasing the rest of the field almost before the Tour had properly started. We're going to join the stage 1 action with the whole field together, approaching the decisive climb towards the finish in Plumelec, the Côte du Cadudal.
We got an attack going on the right.
Fabian Wegmann, the champion of Germany, and this is exactly what outfoxed Eric Zabel a couple of years ago, because there was a late attack came. It's not the champion of Germany. In fact,
this is
it's arrived from
Agu-Tubel. This is arrived from Agu-Tubel, who's made the move here, and it would be the sort of move by Romain Feylu, who has made a move on the climb, and I think he's gone too early, but it is indeed Feylu who's gone as he starts the climb here, and he's got a little gap over the field, and this is the moment of confusion. Who's going to take up the chase, because they don't want to waste their energy, and this is a good gamble by the Frenchman, but now comes Gerolsteiner.
Gerolsteiner have got themselves organised. This is the counter move now. Feylu really himself a little bit of a sprinter, I felt, was going just a bit too early there, but now we've got Gerolsteiner. This looks like Stefan Schumacher.
Well, this could be a good move from Stefan Schumacher. He once won the Amstel Gold Race in a move like this up the Kouwberg in the south of Holland. He's now made he's got an enormous gap. There'll have to be a quick reaction to close this down. This drag will split the field up for sure now as he continues to count. Now the field is starting to rip from behind.
Well, they're all over. You've got to convict yourself now just to keep going. You cannot pause at a moment like this. Eric Zabel is still pretty much up there. They're now starting to get the headwind into their faces, these riders, as they come up the last little bit of curlies, as they come up towards the top. Schumacher looking over his shoulder to see whether or not he's got the power still to go. The main field is still all over. There is Alejandro Valverde in the middle, the champion of Spain. He's looking for the gap. He wants to win this. Coming across there is Kim Kirken. Kirken has made the junction. Now he makes the move.
Kirken has gone over the top, and I saw also Valverde and Philippe Gilbert in white as Kirken tries to go clear now. And there's a move from a Lampre rider. Is it Cunego? No, it's not, right on his back wheel. I think Kim Kirken's gone a little bit too soon here, Paul. Paul?
Well, I think that's Alessandro Ballan there in second place, but look, in fact, you can see Kirken is opening up the gap here. Schumacher's gone backwards. There is Cadel Evans in about fourth position. He's pretty happy just to be there. We're inside of 250 metres to go, and this is going to be a great move coming around the corner. 41, well, Kirken.
This was what was planned, Kim Kirken. Alan Piper said he hoped it, but that Valverde, I think, has taken a flyer from the line. Alexander Valverde is heading home. Well, his team said he would win. He seems to want the yellow jersey from day one, the hot favourite with Cadel Evans, and that is an incredible win for Alejandro Valverde. Philippe Gilbert, I think, will have got second place on the line there. Paul, the power of that man.
Well, I think not only the power of Alejandro Valverde, but the way he remained calm and collected and watched the race unfold in front of him, and then all of a sudden he came out to take the big pay packet there this afternoon.
Well, as opening day finishes go, it more than made up for the lack of skin suits, aero helmets and close-ups of human suffering we usually get on day one. And it produced a winner who wouldn't have been in the top 6 of a prologue, but is aiming for the top place overall in the Tour. So it felt as though the race had got straight down to business. It also left Alejandro Valverde with an almost undefendable lead, 1 second over the first dozen riders behind him, including Kim Kirken, the pre-race favourite Cadel Evans, Frank Schleck, and Britain's David Miller too, with another 30-odd riders behind them, lying just 7 seconds back. So, although Valverde had looked impressive in taking the yellow jersey, his chances of holding on to it for long looked pretty slim. Great for the race, and seemingly fine by Valverde too.
Sí, creo que sobre todo siempre digo que las victorias hay que agradecérselas al equipo porque trabajan fenomenal, hemos tenido todo controlado en todo momento y bueno, se lo dedico a todos ellos que se lo merecen. Bueno, que sí, creo que coger el jersey amarillo es muy bueno para mí, para el equipo. Y bueno, lo hemos cogido, si luego se pierde no pasa nada, de momento lo hemos cogido, lo tenemos, he ganado una victoria de etapa y muy contento.